Welcome to the House Divided Podcast After Show, hosted by me. 1 second, I gotta change the title here on Twitch. Welcome to the House Divided Podcast After Show, hosted by myself. This is just a little mini show to talk about some of the stuff we didn't get the chance to talk about on the show. Or to expand upon some stuff we had already said. Let's see, let me get my stuff up here. We are going to start with the rest of the Power 5. You see the bottom line behind me, that's going to go through our topics. We're going to start with the rest of the Power 5. We're going to talk a little bit about the rest of the Power 5. Starting with, we may as well start with the ACC. Why not? It's alphabetical. Or Power 4, I'm sorry. Power 5. The rest of the Power 4. So, I think the ACC is very much wide open right now. Because, put it simple, Florida State is awful. Florida State might be absolutely, what is the dog doing? Florida State might be absolutely fucking atrocious. And looking at their schedule, they already got one loss. They have to play 14 Clemson on October 5th. I could see them losing Monday night. I don't think it's going to happen, but I could see it happen. I could see it happening. Then they play number 19 Miami on the 26th, Halloween weekend. They play number 7 Notre Dame, throw a game in there against against Notre Dame. I could see this Florida State team being really bad and not being a factor in the ACC. I can see this conference being really wide open right now. Because, like we said on the picks, DJ Uiagalelei, what have we seen from DJ Uiagalelei that says he's good? Nothing. There is nothing out there that says he's good. Now, here's the other problem with that, though. With Florida State being the best team in the ACC, or they were the presumed best team, you look at your other ranked teams. Clemson, you have no idea. Like I said, Clemson needs to be close against Georgia. If Clemson gets blown out by Georgia tomorrow afternoon, that game is going to be, or that team could struggle. And you could sit and say, well, Georgia's a different team. Oh yeah, NC State's also ranked. I forgot about that. We don't really know what we're going to get with Clemson. Are we going to get another 9-3 or whatever they were last year? I think they were 9-4 after the bowl game win. We going to get another 8-4 team that just kind of didn't figure into anything? Or are we going to get a team that's good? I don't know what to make out of Cade Klubnik. He's not great. But tomorrow is a huge game for the Clemson Tigers. They need that game in a bad way. They need to be relevant. They need to be close. They need to be competitive. If they aren't, then it could be another wash for Clemson. Miami is Miami. It's hard to have faith in them because we've seen what they've done so many years, time in, time out. Especially we saw what Mario Cristobal did last year. Had a lead against Georgia Tech, and then he fumbled it away, literally, by running the ball instead of taking a freaking knee. And then NC State with, I believe Grayson McCall is their quarterback, if I remember correctly. I think he's still there. I don't think he transferred anywhere. Yeah, Grayson McCall's there. NC State got a questionable win yesterday. I mean, not questionable. It was a tight win. Or a tight first half, I should say, against Western Carolina, the Catamounts. But so hopefully, so is that something to go off of that they might struggle? Maybe. It's really hard to say. Some people will sit and say, "Oh well, yeah, it was tied at halftime, but the game was never really in doubt because, which isn't because of what happened in the fourth quarter, but they went into the fourth quarter trailing by 4. So that's your top 4 teams in the ACC all have questions to go along with it right now. So where does that leave us for everybody else? Lug, get out. No. And Putterfield. Lug, come on, buddy. We're being a pain. Yeah, problems. Buddy, go lay down. So now where does that leave the rest of the ACC with your top 4 teams in question? I don't think Duke's going to be a factor. They lose Mike Elko to Kansas. Oh, Texas A&M. I'm sorry, they lost. Riley Leonard to Notre Dame, and then Mike Elko to Texas A&M. So I don't really know if Duke's going to be a factor. Cal is going to be a non-factor. BC could factor in. Georgia Tech looked really good against Florida State, but Florida State could be really bad. I don't know if Louisville can pull a rabbit out of the hat 2 years in a row. North Carolina existed yesterday. Pitt, no. Stanford, no. Virginia Tech, and Wake Forest, hard to say. Team I haven't mentioned, though. And I think I'm just going to let him do this till he gets bored. I think Syracuse Orange have a good roster. They have a good roster. They have a fairly favorable schedule this year. That's Stanford's schedule. Well, let's check in on the Stanford Cardinal. They're winning 14-7 early in the second quarter, midway through. The Syracuse Orange, led by Kyle McCord, Aron Gadsden's there, LeQuint Allen running back. They got the potential to be a pretty solid team. They got potential, and then they got defensively they're solid. They could be all right. They could be sneaky good even. Buddy, are you okay? He's finally went to lay down. Good. Syracuse Orange have a good quarterback now. I don't even know who they played for. couple different quarterbacks last year. Syracuse could be sneaky good. I could end up being completely off base on that. But I think Syracuse could be sneaky good. Surprise some people. And we'll be able to sneak in to the could possibly sneak in into the ACC championship. I have to log in. Should have had this open already, but let's do some odds checking. Do some odds checking. Here we go. I don't care. Let's see. Clemson's regular season or Syracuse regular season wins is at 7.5. I like the over there. Clemson's is at 8. I think they could get it. Boston College is at 4.5. I don't know about that. It'd be dependent very much on what we get, what we see on Monday night. But then you got Wake Forest isn't going to be a factor. Virginia is not anticipated to be a factor. Neither is Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech's 8.5. Oh, they do have a Keon Drones. Actually, I forgot about that. Kyron Drones. I mean, so they could be. They actually could be a factor. Got that he was there. What are you? Oh, chewing with your bone. My dog is all over the place tonight. But so you got some teams. You got 6 teams at 5 if you Syracuse, Virginia Tech, NC State, Miami, Clemson. 6 if you count Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech could be a solid team. They're a 5.5 win total, and I want that. I would like that way bigger. Clemson right now has your best odds at plus 270. Syracuse is at 35. I mean, if they get the right matchup, the ACC is going to be, it's not going to be good. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to, I don't want to make it seem like, Syracuse is the end all be all, or that the ACC is going to be this elite conference. They're not, but they're going to be really fucking competitive this year. I think the ACC will be probably the most top to bottom competitive conference just within their conference. Don't think they'll be the best. And I think whoever makes it to the playoff from the ACC is gonna look bad. Is gonna be bad, and it's not gonna be a good look for the ACC. But I think they'll be a very top to bottom competitive conference. Let's move on to the new look. Let's move on to the new look Big 12. As I can feel my dog moving my chair with his mouth, chewing the bone, chewing his toy. The Big 12 added Arizona, Arizona State, Colorado, Utah. I like 2 teams out of the Big 12 this year. There are 2 teams that I really like out of the Big 12. I like Utah. I have liked Utah for years. Cam Rising, I've said it several times. Cam Rising's a stud. Kyle Whittingham is a phenomenal all-world head coach. And I think Utah should be the favorite to win the Big 12. I don't believe they are. They are actually at plus 280. K-State will still be solid, though. No Will Howard. I think they'll still be a pretty solid team. They were a good team. They were a good team last year. I have no idea who they're going to be trotting out at quarterback. Might be Taquan Robertson. I would assume he is the senior, the old man in the group. And I don't know what that is. I think they'll be a solid team. Here's the question with the Big 12 and Utah in particular. Can they keep up with the pace? If Utah can keep up with the pace like they were able to in the Pac-12, they will be the best team in the Big 12. If they can keep up with that, they will be the best team. And it won't be close. Let's move on to the other team that I do like. I think will be very sneaky good, at least early in the season. And then people will be like, oh yeah, they're good. I think West Virginia could be solid. They're projected to win 6.5 games. That's their total by Vegas. I think they'll be over. I think they have a very good chance of beating Penn State tomorrow. Kansas, I don't know what to expect out of Kansas. Oklahoma State is Oklahoma State. K-State will be a tough one. Arizona, I don't know what to expect out of Arizona. Arizona is another team that I do like with Noah Fatifa and their receiving core, especially Tetairoa McMillan. I do like that Arizona team, but I think they're a team that is projected to do well at all. They're not expected to be able to recapture how they were last year. I think I think the Big 12 is going to be a very good, fun conference to watch this year. I think you got Utah's really good. K-State should be pretty good. Oklahoma State should be pretty good. Arizona could be good. Kansas could be good. They're ranked 22nd right now. I think West Virginia is going to surprise people. Colorado, who we'll talk about, is probably not going to be very good. We'll talk about Colorado in a few minutes after the shit that we saw yesterday. That was a debacle, but we'll talk about them here next as we move on to the SEC. We're not doing full previews like we did with Big Ten on the actual show. I just want to touch on a couple things because it's already midnight almost. The SEC. I think, I'm high on Ole Miss this year. I'm very high on Ole Miss. They're plus 750 to win the SEC. They are a 9.5 win total by Vegas. I like that number a lot. I think they could be a 10-win team, especially if their schedule is favorable, which I don't have right off the top of my head. We're gonna have in a moment. No, the ESPN. Let's see. Furman, Middle Tennessee, Wake Forest, Georgia Southern, Kentucky, South Carolina, at LSU, Oklahoma, home against Georgia. Okay. I like them winning maybe everything except Georgia. They probably will lose to Georgia on November 9th. That would be it. Can they avenge their loss in the can they turn around and avenge their loss? I don't know. I don't know. Like I said, Ole Miss I think is a very good team. They're not the favorite, and I think their odds are way higher than they should be. They should be at least the number 3 team, but Alabama's always going to be up there. Same thing, Texas this year, new shiny thing in the SEC. I don't know how to feel about Texas yet. So, I don't know. Like, Texas should be a team that can take a step forward. Be just as good, if not better, than last year. But I think it's going to be very important to see how they are after they play Michigan, how they do against Michigan. Ask me in 2 weeks, and I might have a different answer on Texas. Right, so my dog is going to town on this bone. Had to make sure he wasn't chewing on my chair. Jesus. Texas has a conference-wise has a fairly favorable schedule. I think they're going to beat Oklahoma. Georgia will be a tough one. And then they end the season with Texas A&M, but other than that, their conference schedule is Mississippi State, Georgia, or Oklahoma, Georgia, at Vanderbilt, Florida, at Arkansas, Kentucky, at Texas A&M. Yeah. Yeah, I think Texas, like I said, I could feel very different about Texas in 2 weeks right now, because Texas is that team that they're always big preseason team, and everyone's like, "Oh man, Texas, they back?" It's like the Dallas Cowboys. It's like, is this Texas's year? And then something happens, and you're like, "Yeah, no, it's not Texas's year." So on Wednesday, the 11th, I might have a completely different feeling about the Texas Longhorns. I don't know, like, that game against Georgia scares me right off of the game against Oklahoma. And then like Texas A&M is not going to be ranked by the end of the season. They're always going to find a way to falter. So it's really going to be those 2 games of Oklahoma, Georgia. And then if they win one of those two, they might only lose one conference game, and they'll be in the SEC championship most likely. Georgia's going to be good. I don't know what to feel about Alabama yet. I might not know how to feel about Alabama until a while. Alabama's projected to win 9.5. Win total's 9.5. They might be good. They might be bad. They have a gauntlet with of SEC play with Georgia. And then they have 2 easy games. Georgia September 28th, and then Tennessee, Missouri, LSU, Mercer, and then Oklahoma. They got a gauntlet towards the end of the season, at back half, that I could see them losing 1, 2 games, maybe 3 there. They're going to lose to Georgia on the 28th. I think that's a foregone conclusion. They're just not good enough this year. And then I am interested in watching Missouri. Missouri, who's ranked 10th, 11th this year. Missouri, who's ranked 11th. They got their win yesterday against Murray State. They have another fairly favorable schedule. Texas A&M October 5th. Might not be ranked. Auburn won't be great. Alabama October 26th. November 9th will be Oklahoma. They could be good. Or they could be not. It'll be very interesting to see if Eli Drinkwitz and Brady Cook can recapture what they were last year. If they can, they'll be great. They will be able to factor in. I don't think they're going to be good enough to beat Georgia, but I don't think anyone's good enough to beat Georgia. The SEC is pretty easy right now. Georgia is the de facto team. I don't think anyone else is good enough to keep up there. Will I be wrong? I don't know. I wish I could say I knew for a 100% fact that somebody could go in and dethrone Georgia. I don't think it's Alabama. I think Alabama's reign of terror is done for at least a couple years. Sans Nick Saban leaving. Kalen DeBoer's a good head coach. Don't get me wrong, he's a great head coach. I think that reign of terror though is gone. And it's time for other people to step up, because I look at this Bama roster, I look at the schedule. Jalen Milroe is just all right. Like, your running back room is going to be fine. Your offensive line is going to be good, so your running backs will be good. You lose Isaiah Bond. He went to, I believe, Texas. So I don't even know who their primary receivers are going to be now. Like, looking at this roster, this is a very young lineup. They got big drop off. Not a lot of seniors, especially on offense. So I don't know who's going to step up for Alabama, who's going to be that leader outside of Jalen Milroe, and who's going to be really good. We tomorrow might learn completely different. We might learn a bit tomorrow. but it's also Western Kentucky. We might not really know anything about Alabama going into the 28th, week 5. So there'll be a fun watch. That's really all I got for the Power 4. It's going to be a very unique, interesting year. I get here, please. Thank you. Stanford is beating TCU 14-10 now. Or update there. What did we have? I want to check real quick what went down with... Wisconsin and Western are still going. Tied 3-17. Never mind. Never mind. Wisconsin, it took ESPN a minute. It's 28-14 Wisconsin. Fun's going. Let's move on to Colorado. And this is where I make people mad. Why do I have so many fucking text messages? This is where I make people mad. The Colorado Buffaloes are a bad team. I shouldn't say make people mad because they're a polarizing team. They're not good though. They are not good at all. They might suck. This talk of Shedeur being a Heisman candidate, Travis Hunter being a Heisman candidate, both of them are going to be top 10 picks. National championship contenders needs to stop. North Dakota State is a very good team. Don't get me wrong. They're a very good FCS team. And there's a but. They're still an FCS team. They're not beating even like a middle tier FBS team. And here's where I say might suck a lot. They did not have faith in their running back, Alan Hayden, who transferred from Ohio State. And right now, I feel bad for the kid. He made a dumb mistake in going to Colorado. I don't know if he's going to realize it. I think from the outside looking in, it's pretty easy to say, brother, what are you doing? They're not going to run the ball a lot there. If you want to go there to showcase your running ability, you ain't going to get it. Yeah, Dallin Hayden wasn't going to get playing time at Ohio State this year. He hasn't gotten it the past couple years. Find Travion Henderson and Mayan Williams. Colorado, spare me the bullshit. Spare me the bullshit of, well, it was Shedeur calling those plays. It wasn't the offensive coordinator or Dion. It was Shedeur checked out of those plays and threw passes instead. Spare me that bullshit. Somebody did not have faith in their offensive line or their running game to be able to run the ball with 1:40 remaining, up 5 points. They threw the ball 6 times, and the majority of them were incompletions. They did not have the faith to run the ball against an FCS team. And then they got bullied. They got bullied yesterday. Defensively, they were awful. They were just... I've never seen... they got absolutely bullied. I don't think I've seen a team that was just that bad. Great. Jimmy Horn 200 or 198 yards receiving and a touchdown, I believe. Great. Travis Hunter, 3 touchdowns. Shedeur, 445. They can't run the ball when it matters. They can't play defense when it matters. Like, they gave up. I have it. I can find it. Here we go. They gave up 500 total yards. 449 total yards. 157 of them were on the ground. 292 in the air. And got just out everything. They were losing the game, majority of the game. And just, they're not a good team. And the fact that that Colorado team does not have the faith to run the football when it matters is comical. Is absolutely freaking comical. I hate calling teams soft or weak. I hate it. Because it's cliche. It doesn't... It's just a cliche way of saying something without having the knowledge to say something. But this Colorado team, for lack of a... They are soft. They're the team. They have all the flash. They have no substance. They look pretty. They got all the dressing. They do all the great window dressing. They look really pretty. And then you watch them play, and anybody who actually watches them play is like, oh my god. Anybody who watches this Colorado team and actually watches them play a game of football. And I'm going to be doing the sidecast of their game against Colorado State. I believe week 3 it is, on the 14th. Let me double check that right this minute. Yeah, 9/14, 7:30 on CBS. Anybody who actually watches their game is like, oh, yeah, this team is... Like, they get manhandled up front. They got manhandled up front last year. There was no changes this year. They bring in a new defensive coordinator, and the defensive line is still inept. Like, and you got players, and we saw it yesterday on the final play of the game on the Hail Mary from Colorado, or from North Dakota State. You got players that are playing selfish football. Instead of just trying to knock the ball down, like several people were, like they were trying to, Travis Hunter and even Dion were trying to knock the fucking ball down. You got these guys that are just trying to fucking play for stats and get the interception. Just knock the ball away. Don't try and fucking intercept the ball. They don't play team football. It is a very selfish, self-centered team. And I don't know if Colorado's going to be able to make bowl eligibility, honestly. They will probably lose to Nebraska next weekend at 7:30. They will probably beat Colorado State. There's 2 wins. They'll beat Baylor, 3. Four is Arizona. 5 is Texas Tech. So right now I'm looking at 5 and 7 for Colorado. I don't think they're going to beat UCF or K-State or Arizona. They sure as hell ain't going to beat Utah. Probably not going to beat Kansas. Probably not going to beat Oklahoma State. I'm looking at 5, maybe 6 wins for Colorado. This team sucks. This team has no substance. They're Notre Dame. A team that always looks they're that team that always looks really flashy, and then when it matters, they've been what Ohio State's been for the past couple of years, with losing to Michigan. Like, they're that team that looks really flashy, but there's no substance to them. But Ohio State at least always gets one quality win against fucking Penn State too. And I'm saying that as an Ohio State fan. There's been a couple of years where Ohio State hasn't had true substance. They're just that flashy team that when it gets tough, they do lose that game. That's all Colorado is right now. That's all Colorado will probably be. They're the Oregon. They're the Notre Dame, Texas A&M, Penn State, on occasion Ohio State. They're those teams that look really pretty and they drag you in. They drag people in. And if you don't watch them, and people will stop watching Colorado again this year, just like they stopped watching Colorado last year, once things started going south for Colorado. It takes a little while for people to realize that this team doesn't have anything. There's nothing there to them. Let's move on so we can get out of here. Keep this short. Keep the after show short tonight. The Oregon Ducks. What to make of Oregon? We talked about it a little bit on the show. I want to kind of go a little bit deeper into it, because I am not a buyer of the hype. Their uniforms, I am definitely not a buyer of. Wow. They're gangrene. Wow. Wow. Like I said, especially when we made the picks, Oregon's going to score 70. That's what Dan Lanning does. It's an Oregon tradition. Dan Lanning likes to fuel his ego. I'm not a big boy. He's James Franklin with hair. Oregon is Penn State with more uniforms. I think Oregon's going to lose at least 2 games. They're going to be a 10-2 team, just like they had, like they always are. They always are. They're gonna go 11-2, 11-1. Actually, this year they'll go 10-2. This year they will go 10-2. They could go 11-1 and maybe beat Michigan or Ohio State, one of the two. They ain't gonna beat both. Just like, and then they get that flashy bowl win, and everyone's gonna be big on them again. Gonna beat up on Oregon State, or like they're gonna beat up on the bad non-cons, and they're gonna beat up on the downtrodden, the bad Big Ten teams. That's what they always do. That's just Oregon right there. And then when the going gets tough, just like Colorado, they become a team with no substance. I have zero faith in Oregon. I have zero faith in Dillon Gabriel. Yeah, they got some other guys there. I don't know who their running back's going to be this year. I honestly don't know who all their receivers are going to be this year. Buzz Johnson, Deshaun Holden will be there. I know who a couple of their receivers will be, but like team, I can't try. I don't think Dan Lanning's a great hit. He's not bad. But I don't think he's this elite prodigy that people think he is. And they're gonna, when things get tough, I think Oregon's gonna fold. Just like they have the past couple of years. If I'm wrong, I'll come on here and I'll say it. I know when to admit that I'm wrong. I don't think I'm going to be wrong on this one. Because the history, just like with Penn State, the history's there. That's going to do it for the after show. I'm going to get ready to go to bed because I got to be up early. So, thanks everybody for watching the podcast. Thanks for everybody hanging out for the after show. We will see you guys all later.